we brought you an example of something we do here at Higher Up. Because we're talking about rethinking assessment, so it's worth understanding how to actually do it in practice. This is a sort of formative assessment cycle. It always starts at the beginning of each lesson with an entrance ticket, and I'm going to give you some more examples of this in a moment. But what is the idea here? We want to recap what the students have already learned. We want to grasp what students have already learned. We want to remind them of what they have learned, considering, for example, the spaced retrieval technique that it tells us that we need to remind them of what they have learned, so this knowledge can stick to their brains. So the idea here of the entrance ticket is to help them remember to bring the knowledge back. So that's why it's at the beginning of each lesson. Then we have the lesson as usual. After the lesson is over, we have the feedback at the end of each lesson, as I said. So this here at Higher Up, this is done with VIP students and with groups as well. But we are working with small groups. We work with groups of maximum 4 learners. So it's very easy to give individual feedback at the end of each lesson. However, that doesn't mean if you work for a regular school with 30, 40 students, you can't give feedback. Of course you can. You can walk around the class, take notes, and then go to the board and write down some of the examples you heard, whether they're good examples or things that they needed to work on. It doesn't matter. We also like very much to focus on pronunciation issues, because here at Higher Up, we consider ELF, English as a lingua franca, so we are always aiming at intelligibility with our learners. Then after the feedback, we always have an exit ticket. And that is now to recap what we have studied in this lesson. And it's very interesting to ask them questions such as, what have you learned today? Because sometimes you're trying to teach them, because we know students don't necessarily learn what we are teaching. So, for instance, we have had a case of teaching functional language, and throughout the lesson, somebody asked, how can I say the equipment you put on a horse to ride a horse? Oh, it's a saddle. Okay, great. And then you ask at the exit ticket, what have you learned today? The functional language? Not really. The saddle. Everybody remembers the saddle.
Vocabulary, yes.
Yes. So
remarkable vocabulary.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to use that for? I have no idea, but that got into their brains. So the exit ticket teaches us how to be humble, but it also lets us have a better idea of what they actually learned. So I'm going to show you now what our feedback looks like. As I said, good examples. So this is an example we do with an individual lesson. So this is a VIP lesson. We write down good examples of things they said. We write down things that they should work on, because it's wrong and nobody will understand it, or because it's a recurrent mistake. As I said, the pronunciation issues. So for instance, here we have spend versus expand. That's something the learners struggle with, consider intelligibility. And the suggestions. So here are things that they said that they do make sense, but they could say them better, or it's a way to expand their vocab. So for example, impossible to change, written on stone. She didn't know this, and that's why this example is here. So this is an example of our feedback. And this is done with groups as well, but you don't have to follow exactly this. You can tailor it to your reality. And as I mentioned, the entrance and exit tickets, very important. These are very brief. They take like 5 minutes tops. Okay, and they're very good if you're waiting for other students to do them. So you could bring an image that is related to the lesson, of course, and what words or phrase do you associate with it? What's something you've recently learned that stuck with you from past classes? What do you remember about last class topic? We also like to ask them to take a look at their list of vocab that they build on their own and say, hey, what is something from that list of vocab that you want to bring back, etc. And also exit tickets, write down 3 new words you learned in today's lesson. On a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about today's lesson topic? And how will you use what you learned today outside of class?
Yes, it's very important to understand not only our students' process of learning, but the way that they feel when it comes to feedback. When we talk about feedback, we usually use the holistic approach in which we understand the students' struggles and not only the students' needs, but also the students' struggles. Yes. So the way that we approach them, and we show them not only their mistakes, but when we start talking about their progress, the things that they have been doing well, they feel that they are really learning. So when it comes to formative assessment, we need to watch out to take care of this thing of just trust the process, because at times students, as human beings as we are, we need words of reinforcement saying, "Oh, you are doing well. Yes, so you are good at this, you are good at grammar, you're good at pronunciation, but we need to work on your listening." So don't focus just on what students don't know how to do or on their difficulties. Otherwise, it is something that may backfire. Yes, as a learner, yes, I have just started learning playing tennis, and I have this experience with my instructor. My instructor is likely to tell me all the bad things that I do, and at times I don't know if I'm really learning because I don't have positive reinforcement. And as a teacher, it's a very good thing for me to see how I struggle, yes, and how I am, the type of learner that I am, because I put myself in my students' shoes. So when we talk about assessment, we also talk about support. Assessment is to support learning, as not to measure it. Yeah, so it reinforces the idea that assessment is a tool for growth. It's not a tool just to grade and to give. I shouldn't just a grade at the end of a semester and say, oh, you are a 10 or you are a 7. We don't know what that person as a human being has been to. So you as a teacher understand and know your student. You know that his or her progress. And we know that at times life happens and people don't do well because of a personal problem or because of any other thing. So we focus on formative assessment because we believe in progress. We believe in reflecting not only our reflection from the teacher, but also we teach our students, we guide them to achieve autonomy. So we think of formative assessment as a way of fostering students' progress. Yes, and of course, students can refine their syllabi for better learning outcomes.
Exactly. And just to finish, always consider that if your students' affective filter is high, as Krashin says, if they feel under pressure like Patricia, the chances are they are not going to learn how to play tennis. So we have the washback effect when students don't learn, and as she said, it backfires. Thank you very much for your attention, and we are ready to answer your questions.